on anyone. This is the Money Down Pod, our first NBA show of the season. That is Shawn White. Follow him on Twitter at DumpsterFireFan. Myself, Kayvon_sports. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the Money Down Pod. Do us a favor. Take a quick second and just like and subscribe. Give us a 5-star review. It really means the world to us. Let us know what you think. Who won the trade? Who has the most pressure? Are you worried about the Nets or are you worried about the Sixers? We want to hear from you, which brings us into a team that 98%, maybe even 99, maybe even 100 are damn sure worried about, and that's the Los Angeles Lakers. They're a mess. They're a mess, and there's a lot to get into of why they're a mess, Shawn. And I want to take a step back here because there's been a lot of talk from the national media over the last couple days about, is LeBron's time as a Laker a failure? And that's really gotten me worked up because I will admit, LeBron deserves some heat for what's happening this season because LeBron clearly wanted Westbrook. He clearly wanted Westbrook. Now, I'm not one of those people that thinks that LeBron, no matter what, gets what he wants, because if that was true, LeBron would have gotten Kyle Lowry at the trade deadline last year, which is what he wanted, and everyone forgets this. And if Rob Pelinka pulled the trigger, if we all remember, this is facts. This was reported. The only reason why they didn't want to get Kyle Lowry because they didn't want to give up THT. I mean, I love you, Talon Horton Tucker, but my goodness, could you imagine? They were up 2-1 against the Suns. It's like everyone forgets this. They were up 2-1 against the Suns last year, the team that went to the finals, and then AD got hurt. Imagine if Kyle Lowry was there. Things could have changed. I'm not saying they were going to win that series. It would have been different. And I think at that moment, that's when LeBron started to have some worries about, is Rob Pelinka going to be that guy? Is he going to be able to get some of these things done? I think he created a great roster the second year when they traded for AD. After that, it's been iffy. But I will be fair and put the blame on LeBron for Westbrook because everybody that knows basketball, even an inch of basketball, could have said, bro, this is not going to work. Their games just don't fit. Westbrook, it just was a terrible fit. Hield would have been better. DeRozan would have been better. So I put the blame on that for LeBron. But to call his tenure a failure is ridiculous because he won a chip. He was in the playoffs year one. He had him in the 4th seed in the playoffs before he got hurt. And the team was so bad with Ingram and all these guys that they couldn't win enough to keep into the playoffs. Like, he's gotten hurt a couple times since he's been there, but he still brought a chip home. Now, the issue has been AD can't stay healthy. AD can't stay healthy. Nothing is happening from here on. I put the blame on LeBron for the Westbrook move. But other than that, man, it's just a little ridiculous to me the way people are attacking LeBron like this whole time in LA has been an absolute failure. I think that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm not a big proponent of his whole tenure has been a failure. You win a championship, you can't have a failure of a tenure. That should be like
they were picking number 2 in the draft every single year, and then he took them straight to winning a championship.
And I know people want to get into the whole, is it a real championship with the bubble, whatnot? A championship's a championship, man. He won a championship. It can't be a failure of a tenure. That's just the truth of it. Now, can you be upset with what's happening now? Yeah. But again, you've watched LeBron his whole career. This happens everywhere he goes. Let's be honest. This is what happens. He comes in, he guts all your young talent. He brings in veterans. They win a title, maybe 2 in Miami's case. Everyone gets old and declines. He leaves. That's LeBron's career. Let's be honest. Whether you hate him or love him, that's what he does. So you're in the section right now. Lakers, you're here. You're at everyone's old, and he's about to bolt you probably. He's gonna either get out next year or you're gonna have to make a move, and that's the truth of it. That's kind of the bed they've made, and they're kind of lying in it. I do blame him on the Westbrook thing. I mean, me and you were texting about that. I think everyone on Twitter, even the meatheads on Twitter, was like, this is a dumb move. I mean, who really liked that move to start with? he doesn't fit at all. If LeBron wanted him to come and be an energy guy and take the ball as a second unit guy, then maybe. But Westbrook doesn't see himself as that man. He doesn't think he's the sixth man. He's not going to go do that. He thinks he's a triple double machine still, and he's not. He's a high volume shooter, is what he is, and he doesn't make open shots when he gets the pass from LeBron. And really, he's a liability out there late in game.
Completely.
It doesn't make sense from a trade standpoint. You could have had DeRozan, that was reported. LeBron didn't go with that. You could have had Hield, that was reported. LeBron didn't go for that. And you're right, that THT holding on to him, I've never understood the major love for Horton Tucker outside of he's part of clutch and maybe made a few plays here and there. I never understood that love for him. I was more of a hater on THT, I guess. But to be able to have Lowry and not do it, that
was the only piece that held him up.
Now, here's the thing. We can move on from the whole whether it was a failure, because I don't see that at all. And you had excellent points on that. I don't see it as a failure. What we can discuss, though, is this big brewing blow-up that's going to happen between Pelinka and LeBron here, because Clutch definitely wants to run a lot of things. That's kind of what you get with LeBron. Him and his guys come in, Rich Paul, all them, they run things. That's how it is. And, LeBron's done enough to be able to deserve that since the league is a player empowerment league. Players run everything. That's how it works in the NBA. But him and Pelinka is going to come head-to-head, and I'm curious who's going to come out on top of this. The Lakers might just let him go. Do you think LeBron could get traded? Do you think that could happen?
I don't think it happens.
They have to do something like that?
So it's fascinating.
Do you think he asked to leave? Or how do you feel is going to happen moving forward? Because this blow-up is going to happen soon because they said no to just trading for John Wall over a 2027 pick. So clearly LeBron's lost some control there in the front office that he had before with the Westbrook trade and all that.
No, you're right. It's fascinating. And I'm going to say something that people are probably going to think is asinine. I think it's going to be fine. I think Pelinka and LeBron are going to make amends. And I don't think Pelinka goes, and I don't think LeBron goes. I really don't. I think that LeBron wants to be in LA so bad that the way they're going to have to get him out is they're going to have to trade him. Now, do they trade him? Maybe they really get the balls and trade him. I just don't see it happening, to be honest with you, man. I think that things are going to get worked out. The issue becomes in 2 years when LeBron's contract's over. Does LeBron walk away himself?
Well, he's going to go to Bronny.
What?
He's going to go to Bronny. Everyone speculated that, and he even admitted it. So that's where that's going to go.
That's facts. Whenever Bronny gets in the league, he will go to Bronny. That will definitely happen. Until then, man, I think that, and this is getting, we'll talk into this more as it goes, but I think that I think they're going to find a way to get rid of Westbrook in the summer. It's going to be very hard with his cap, but I think they're going to find a way. And I think that they're going to try and run it back one more time with AD and LeBron. Look, I'm going to go far enough to say this. And again, bring on the hate if you guys think I'm a delusional LeBron fan. I'm telling you right now, do not let the Lakers get the Warriors round one with a healthy AD. Lakers win that in 5 games.
Healthy Draymond?
Yep, does not matter. The Lakers win that in 5 or 6 games. Now, I'll tell you this right now. If they get the Suns might sweep the Lakers.
Oh, the Suns will body them if that's the case.
The Suns might sweep the Lakers. But the worst thing that could happen to the Warriors and the best thing that could happen to the Lakers is now it's all bets are off if AD's not healthy. I need to say that. All bets are off. But the way the Lakers have played the Warriors this season, you can just see it in LeBron's eyes. He knows he can beat this team. He knows it. And if they get the Warriors, which is what it's lining up to right now in the first round, I think the Lakers will win the first round, and then they'll get the Jazz, and I think they'll beat the Jazz, and then they'll eventually lose to the Suns in the conference finals. So, I'm telling you, man, I'm not off the ship yet. I think that they can get things together here. Now, the only issue I have is I can't stand watching Westbrook play. I can't stand it. It's like really, really bothering me. And I think that they need to bench Westbrook. And it's not going to happen, but I think that they need to bring him off the bench, just like you said, as an Energizer Bunny. I think they've got to do it. And I think that if they can do that and AD can get healthy, then they could have some interesting things. Now again, let's be serious. A lot of that stuff has to line up. If they get the Suns, it's over. And if AD doesn't get healthy, it's over. So those are 2 big things there. But if the path lines up the right way, Bring it on.
I can't go there. I don't think they can defend. That's my issue. I just don't think they can stop anybody.
I don't think it matters.
They can't stop a perimeter player to save their lives.
Right.
I mean, I watched them give up points to Fox and all them and the Kings, man.
They can't. But in the playoffs, it will work out if they get the right matchup.
So you think they have to play like the Jazz or the Warriors to really be able to run through it. Who do you think the Lakers can take in a 7-game
series? I can tell you right now, they will beat the Warriors in a 7-game series, and they will beat the Jazz, and they will beat the Mavericks. Those are the 3 teams that I fully believe they would beat in a 7-game series. I don't think they would beat Memphis. I think Memphis runs the court way too well. Now, maybe LeBron's playoff success and experience could kind of override Memphis if it was like round 1 or something and Memphis is jittery. But if Memphis wins a round and they get their confidence going, Memphis worries me. I think they have absolutely – I've never said this before in my life about a LeBron team, ever. I even said he has a chance against the KD Warriors team. I think they have absolutely zero chance against the Suns. The Suns play the best matchup against the Lakers. Now, if CP3 is not out there, maybe they can make that an interesting series if CP3 is not out there. But the Suns' style of ball is devastating to the Lakers. But in the West, bro, and I'm talking about teams up there because I think they would beat the Timberwolves. I think they would beat the Clippers. But they're not going to get those teams early. So they're not going to get those teams at all. So give me the Warriors, the Jazz, and the Mavericks. I think they'd beat all 3 of those in a 7-game series.
Okay, let me ask you one. Jamal comes back healthy. How do you feel Nuggets? Murray, Gordon, Jokic.
I think the Nuggets would get them.
Okay.
If Jamal comes back healthy and shows Jamal as somewhat of what we see with Jamal, I think Jokic would just be too much of an issue out there.
Yeah, so we have a little bit of a rub. I think the Jazz have a little better shot than you give them credit for. I know they're chronic underachievers in the playoffs, and I know AD just loves to destroy Gobert.
And he does every time.
It's hilarious to watch, honestly.
Yeah.
But again, with the perimeter defense, I feel like Conley and Mitchell would just have their way enough to kind of go over the top. I completely agree with you about Memphis. Memphis is a sleeper team that nobody really knows about just because they came on so quick.
Yep.
Ja has no fear of LeBron or any of them.
No.
Ja thinks he's better than all of them, and I love that about Ja. And the same thing is damn sure said about the Suns. Book and them don't care. Book knows they can beat them too is the problem.
Because
They come out there talking shit like from the jump. They are that confident about it, and you really don't see LeBron get shit talked, man. Like the 08 Celtics, all them would do it back then. But ever since LeBron started winning championships, no one really shit talks LeBron out on the court. The Suns do it, man. Like everyone on their bench will be talking to him. So that. I agree with you. I don't think they have a shot on that. So that is an interesting point you're making. I think the Warriors can still beat them, though, if Draymond comes back. Draymond's so important to them on defense, and I just don't see them stopping them. But you are right. The Lakers play them about better than any team they play up at the top. Yeah. Which is an interesting point. I love that take, and I can't wait to see how that plays out. I want to marinate on that a little bit going forward because that's something good to look into. Last question on LeBron before we move on. Do you think there's a move that can be made next year, or do you think his title-winning days are over with the Suns constructed how they are? Do you think that's like that last roadblock that he's just not going to get over the Suns next year, even if they have a healthy AD coming back? What can he do to get over a roadblock like that?
It's a great question. I do think that he still can win a championship with the Lakers if the roster is done right. If they're able to get rid of Westbrook and bring in some guys that can shoot the ball a little bit. Again, these are tough ifs, but I really look, LeBron is 0.5 points away from being the scoring champion right now. It's Embiid and it's LeBron. He's playing tremendous basketball right now. The problem is he doesn't have a running mate. AD can't stay healthy to save his damn life.
And even when AD's healthy, AD hasn't been AD this year.
He hasn't.
Let's be honest, AD goes through about 3 – like when we're talking about having a league pass team, if you pick the Lakers for a league pass team, you could get AD going 30-30-30 for 3 games. The next week you could get him going 21 and 18-25. Like he's not been himself this year when he is healthy.
You know, I have a take on that. I think that winning the title was the worst thing that could ever happen to AD. I think AD wanted the just the ability to say that he's a champion because everyone and he got it. And I think he always was someone that was iffy on putting in the work during the offseason. And once he got that title, I think he's completely dropped off of his motivation factor. And this is just speculation, but it just feels like that. And it's starting to look like, and this is not just LeBron's fault because everybody was saying the Lakers got to get AD. But it's starting to look like picking AD to be LeBron's running mate in Los Angeles was a bad pick. Now, I'm not going to say it was a disaster because, again, they won a championship. But you remember, if he maybe went and got Kawhi, because Kawhi was this close to going to LA. He was this close. But at the last second, the Clippers were able to pull off something with Paul George. And Kawhi said, one, he didn't want to join a super team. So, and then he wanted to make sure the Clippers were going to bring someone. So, if AD wasn't there and it was just LeBron, maybe that's not a super team, and Kawhi doesn't even think twice and he goes. Now, I know Kawhi, this is all just speculation. I'm just saying, I think LeBron right now is sitting there saying, damn, maybe I picked this guy that I think could have been my number B and eventually number one, my A for years on in. He's just not it, maybe.
Yeah, and I always thought it was kind of weird that LeBron always picks a big man. I thought that was very strange as well. Maybe LeBron just likes him for the defense and the rebound and help. I don't know what that is, but it's weird. He always takes one and then puts him out on the perimeter, makes him face up a little bit. I honestly always thought that LeBron's perfect number 2 running mate after he left Cleveland would have been Bradley Beal.
Would have loved it.
I don't understand why LeBron doesn't go for a guy that when they're on the floor together, LeBron can dominate the ball and he can spot up shoot. But when LeBron's off the floor, he can just create and dribble drive and be the number 1.
Yeah.
I always thought that would be what LeBron would look for, but that's one thing on insight that I never understood with LeBron, that if I ever had a chance to ask LeBron a question, I would probably ask that to figure out what his thinking along the lines of that is, because he chose Bosh, then Kevin Love, then you see AD. So I always wonder what LeBron's thinking on that is and the reasoning why he always chooses a big guy as like one of his first targets. But that's just me being a speculative, always wondering that. That's like a question I've always wondered in my mind.
Real quick, let me ask you this. Because this wasn't even a question years ago. If LeBron had Karl Anthony Towns instead of AD, how much better is this team, or are they better at all?
I think they're better this year for sure. The championship year, AD was on a different level.
AD was amazing. And if we had that AD, this wouldn't even be a conversation. Now, again, I still don't think they'd be that great because the Westbrook move is the biggest X factor in all of this. It was the stupidest move you ever could have made. It's such a Hollywood bring them for stars move. It was so dumb. But if AD was just playing like he did in the playoffs, it's not even a question. This team could definitely make some noise.
Yeah, now see, that's where the rub is too. Again, if you put Karl Anthony Towns on the championship team, do you think LeBron can elevate to win it with the way it was? Yeah, I believe they probably could have.
I do think they still.
I agree with that.
Yeah, and then
I don't think Karl Anthony Towns would have played to AD's level then. No. But if you're talking about still winning that championship, LeBron probably could have carried that and been fine. These next 2 years, they'd have definitely been better off with Karl Anthony Towns, just from AD's injuries and AD's kind of lack of apathy, really, toward playing.
No doubt. And then last thing here, and then we'll move on. For all those people that think I'm crazy for what I've just said about the Lakers being able to go on and make some noise, guys, just remember they were up 2-1 against the Suns, and they were completely controlling that series. They lost the first game in Phoenix. They won the second. They won the third easy, and then everything went to hell. I know this is a different roster, but it's still LeBron and AD healthy. And we have seen in the playoffs, if they're both healthy, they can win. That one time that they've both been healthy, they've won. And then early in the beginning of last year's playoffs, they were winning, and then everything went to hell. So it's not crazy for me to think that this could happen with the way LeBron's playing if AD can stay healthy.